Hello, everybody. I'm Mel Albin, and I am the host tonight for the Jazz Confusion Power Hour on the Source Radio Network. We have a fascinating guest for you today, Mavis Swan Poole. Mavis has a song that is hitting the airwaves right now and is being charted in so many places around the globe. She has a very unique voice, and she's a very interesting songwriter and stylist. So I'm going to bring Mavis on, and everybody can say hello to Mavis. Hi, Mavis. How are you?
Hi, I'm amazing. How are you?
Great. Good to see you.
Good
I
to
was
be
just
speaking.
I was just introducing you to everybody, telling them about your new single, "The Assignment," and that it's hitting all charts everywhere. I know it's being charted actually in Europe. I checked on it. I don't know how familiar you are in Europe, but it's being charted there too. So the song is really caught on, and it's a wonderful song. You have a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
So yeah, so we're going to get into talking about the song in a little while. But first, I kind of wanted you to tell everybody, how did you get into music? Just how did you start your music career?
Well, so how I got into music, I was kind of born into it. Both my mother and my father sing. I have a sister that sings. So it's in my family. Music, has been in my family for years and years. And I grew up singing in church, and I've always been performing, how my career started, I think, was more so after I went to college. I got um, a degree in music education, but I also got a degree in jazz vocal performance, or a music degree. So
Mhm.
um, I think from there it started leading me. I was already performing, but it'd be like something here, something there, but I was always doing something else. But after going to college, that was pretty much where I moved to New York City. I stayed there for 11 years, traveled the world, and that really like catapulted my music career. Just post college. So really in college, I guess I could say, just around that time. For that's when things got serious and became what I did for a living.
Did you have your own band, or how did you perform live? Were you really working more in the studio? How did it go initially?
Everything. Well, initially, it was kind of like people would ask me to sing, and I would show up and sing wherever I was asked to sing. And then it became a little more, okay, I want this person to play with me. I want to play with this person, where I was starting to pick. And then it became, when I moved. So by the time I moved to New York, by then I was co-leading a band. I was the band leader with an amazing drummer named Jeremy Bean Clemens, and we still work together. We started a band called Soul Understated, and we, toured that band all around the world. So, it became more of a band leader situation, you know, eventually. So, and I've always done studio work. It's usually someone just asked you to sing on their album, and things start that way. But then it became me doing my own, projects or whatever. So yes, studio work is definitely a part of it as well.
What were your early influences in music? Who did you like to listen to, and were there any styles you tried to emulate? And how did you get into jazz and R&B? I mean, there's so many genres you could have chosen.
Well, I've done a lot of genres. I started off, doing, like I said, in the church. So I started off with gospel. And it was interesting because my mother is an evangelist. So we weren't allowed to listen to other styles of music. I could only listen to gospel. And she called everything blues. So it could be Michael Jackson, and she would say no blues, turn it off. So it didn't matter what style. To her, it was all blues, unless it was any secular music was blues. So that's things started with gospel, and I guess it went from there to um, sneaking and listening to R&B on the radio and hip hop with my big brother, and then when I went to college, I decided I actually did not start in music. I actually started as a psychology major. And I added on music after 2 years because I was in marching band and I started doing choir and then I started jazz ensemble. So music things just kept creeping in. And eventually I realized all my grades in psychology were kind of like B, C, and all my music grades were A. So, A's. So I just kind of went into the jazz, the jazz genre. Um, and there was a lot I did not know because I did have such a late start. I did not know who Ella Fitzgerald was until I was like 21 years old. So it was a pretty late start. And when I tell you, when I found out, I went crazy. I could not get enough. I was listening to her. So she was definitely some of my, at least jazz influence. My gospel influences or early influences were the Clark sisters, and still, like, I was sneaking listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I could not get enough of them. I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. So I was EWF really early on, and more like I said, more gospel influences, John P. Key, and just different people in the gospel genre or the gospel realm. And then for jazz, there was a group that a lot of people have never heard about. And I always say their name because when I heard this man, he single-handedly was the person that I was like, yes, I'm doing this. I'm doing this forever. And it was a man named John Hendricks from the group called Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross from back in the day. And when I heard the texture and the woodiness and his timbre, just, he has such a unique, it's just rugged, like a rustic timbre, if I could say that. Like the quality of his tone was just, it drew me in. And that was like the moment that I knew I was like, I want to do this. So he single-handedly was responsible for me deciding to stick with jazz and, going with it. And then, eventually, I kind of always did R&B. I consider it all Black music, to be honest. It's just different versions. Sometimes you do a run, sometimes you don't, depending on who you're singing with and what style you're singing, So I consider it all Black music, and I just kind of, I educate myself in the style, and then, I give my interpretation of what it sounds like. And I've never tried to deliberately imitate anybody outside of like in my own room, just trying to sound exactly like the person I'm listening to. But I think it's very important. I'm a teacher as well. I teach middle school and high school music right now. And it's one thing that I always teach them is be big you. Be the biggest version of yourself. Like if you're busy doing what everybody else is doing, then who's being you? So it's very important for me. It's very important for me to kind of have those influences and those things within me somewhere, but always draw from what the creator played for me, and hold on to my genuine, authentic sound. So, the influences are definitely there, but I pride myself in just hearing with my own ears and letting my own voice and style and interpretation come out.
You mentioned Ella. Ella was the first Black woman to ever win a Grammy. She was the first. Yeah, to start with Ella, you're starting with the best.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
Good place to start.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Tell me. You've been in the recording industry for some time now, in the music industry. What do you like the most about it? What's the thing that really turns you on, really excites you about it?
I think just genuine connection with good people, with real people. The boxes that we create and the things that we choose to call things are just the boxes we create and the things that we choose to call things, but they really just are what they are. And I've always, since I was younger, I would always imagine if you were to take all the houses and cars, if they just lifted up off the face of the earth all of a sudden, and we were all just here naked and vulnerable, all of a sudden we realize all we have is each other. So all of these things that we get along the way and all of these titles and labels and, things that we put on ourselves They don't really add value to us in the real scheme of things. It's just in the perceptive scheme of things, you know, with us as human beings, like how we treat each other or who we think we are. But realistically, we're all just humans. So um I forgot the original question because here I am being deep and floating off somewhere.
That's okay.
And
That's
I
what I
really,
want you to do. That's what I want you to do. But the original question was just to tell us what you like most about the music industry that really excited you when you first found out. I think I want to do this. You know, what was it?
okay.
You know, what was it? Did you want to perform live on a stage? Did you want to be on? Did you want to be in a studio and turn out hits? I mean, what caught your attention in the industry?
Well, you know, now I can't say much caught my attention in the industry, but as far as performing, that's something different. I look at those as two different things. So the
It is.
industry, like I said, the industry, I kind of, it's just meeting genuine people, meeting real people, meeting people that aren't, they don't have the perception of power. You know, they just kind of understand that we are and there are no others. Like it's us. And those interactions make it worthwhile all the time for me. That's what wins for me every time. Give me genuine, real people, and it all makes sense to me. When you start dealing with, you know, oh, this is such and such, and he's worked with this person and that person. I mean, it's all great, but we're all people, and I don't have 20 minutes to hear everything this person has done. I'm sure they're great, but you know, these things to me just feel like, okay, okay, great, glad to meet you. You know, but I really understand that life is short and we all come and we all go. So, you know, the titles and stuff are just things we give ourselves. That's what I was saying with the first part. Performing as a performer, oh, that's life to me. Being on stage, um, I'm like a fish out of water, usually just like doing normal people stuff. You know, sometimes the world doesn't make sense to me. But when it comes to being on the stage, it really solidifies my purpose. It shows me why I'm here. When I get on stage, it's like something comes out of me that makes sense. Like it's just like I can sing better than I can talk. I'd rather sing to a group of people than talk to a group of people. The world makes sense when I'm singing. You know, it, tonight's pretty decent, but sometimes I'm just the words don't come, you know, the way I need them to. They fall short. But once I start singing, it's just like, whew, okay, I can do this. I'm okay. You know, that's when life makes sense to me. So, um, yeah, just genuine connection as far as the industry is concerned and meeting good people that are good people for real. Like just good souls, good character, and people that you know, that care about people.
Yeah, you know, Mavis, you hit on something really interesting. You know, when you go on stage, that's really who you are. You know, Mel Tillis stammers terribly when he speaks, but when he sings, he doesn't stammer at all. And you
Mhm.
know, it's like an actor getting into character. That's what they call it. You know, and they embody the character who they are. So when you go on stage, you're not Mavis talking in conversation like you said. You're Mavis the vocalist, and that's what comes out of you, and that's what makes some artists so much better than other artists because that's really who they are. It's genuine.
Mhm.
You know, it's
Mhm.
not a job. It's not a job. It's soulful. It's what's
Mhm.
inside of you. You know, and
Mhm.
you know, and that's a really important aspect if you really want to be a top performer. You have to when you get on stage, that has to be who you are, and then people will connect with you. So you know that's what they love you for. You know, so
Mhm.
it's really well put. You know, you talk about these good people in the industry that you come across. Who are some of these good people who are successful in the industry, like you are, that you've met, that you really think are terrific performers or terrific artists and terrific people at the same time?
Um, well, some of them are on stage, some of them are off stage. Um, I'd have to definitely start with my manager. I call him King Myron Ruffin. Um, just a person that I have a song that's on the album coming out on the EP that's called Everyday Hero. And it was inspired by him and the producer of the, you know, the album. I would listen to him talk, and one time he got on the phone like, okay, I have to take my son to soccer practice. I have to do this or whatever practice. I have to do this. I have to do that. So I have about 13 minutes. So let's talk about this. So everything is just all what he's always doing something. And it's always like in a, in a sandwich of everything else that he's doing. Like it's always so much, but it's like, this is someone's husband, this is someone's father, this is someone's friend, this is someone's manager, this is someone's booking agent. Like people that wear so many hats, but yet they go home and he's cooking a meal for his family, or he's doing this or doing that. And so the song is called Everyday Hero, because these are the things that we take for granted, like that someone's just doing things like sweeping the floor or just cleaning a bathroom in addition to everything else that they do. So I have to shout out all of those people, that him, King Myron Ruffin being one, Eddie Stokes being another. There's now on stage just some of my near dear friends. Jeremy Bean Clemens, I definitely have to call. He's a drummer. He tours a lot with Burning Spear and with all kinds of other people. But he's an acquired taste, and a lot of it is either you love him or you hate him. There's not a lot of in between, and a lot of it is because he's just that genuine. So he's one of those people that if he's saying it, chances are it's something you should listen to. He's very honest, very direct, but it saves a lot of time. He doesn't waste a lot of time mincing words and trying to do this or trying to just, usually very straight up and down, at least from my interactions with him. The people that are coming to mind are people that I work with that I think are amazing artists in their own right, as well as just good people. Nicholas Ryan Gant, he's an amazing artist. He's also a dear friend of mine. He used to sing supporting vocals in my band with Jeremy, which is Soul Understated. And I mean, the boy's a monster. He really is. But he's also in a good way, not in a bad way, in a good way, in a great way, but he's also like his gift. He really has a gift. He really has an amazing voice. Also, Ama What, she's an amazing vocalist as well. And just great person. Yazara, Farah Boulay. I'm just throwing out names that are just coming, to my head. Kiki, there's a girl named Kiki. I want to say, I think it's Kiki. I can't remember her last name, but she performs a lot with Nona Hendrix. And I don't want to say the wrong last name because, but it's, the Kiki Experience. I know that's her project. My sound girl is actually an artist as well. Her name is Jasmine Battle, and my friend Serena Wiley, an amazing saxophonist. There's so many. I should stop here because trust me, I can go on and on and on. But
you remind me of what came to my mind. Sly and the Family Stone. Everyday people. I love everyday people.
Yes, absolutely.
And there was so much truth. There was so much truth in that song. So yeah. Look, I think it's great that you have these kinds of people around you because you need positive vibes. It's a tough business. It's not easy, and and it's very easy to run into the wrong people.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really terrific. So tell me, you also a teacher? You teach music also. What do you when you teach your kids? Do they recognize that you're a recording artist and a performer of note? I mean, how do the kids respond to you in school?
They do. So I had a situation. I was living in New York, and I received a call to come and teach at a school. They wanted me to teach at this performing arts school in New York. So I went to the audition. I did not know that the principal had the whole school body, all the children in the school, to come together into the auditorium, and they all watched everything that I had done. Like any videos, all of these things, whatever they could find, they watched it together. So by the time I came into the school, I remember I was there for the interview and the doors opened and it was just like, she's here. It was a whole big distracting mess. I was like, and when he was interviewing me, it was kids like at the door, like, listen, I was just like, there is no possible way this is going to work. It can't work because they're already distracted. They're already seeing me as something that, I understand that I have a gift, but I understand that I'm just a human with a gift. So I don't place myself higher than I need to. Like I'm confident. I teach my students this too. I'm confident because I'm competent. So in order to be truly confident, there
That's
has to
right.
be a level of competence. And then you don't have to do all the extra stuff that people put on.
Right.
You don't put on confidence. You just know your stuff. So, you know, it was just weird to me. It was not a good fit because of that. So it didn't work out at that school. I had to find, another spot that worked. So fast forward to now, my babies that I'm teaching now, when I got the job, I let them know up front, like I'm a performer that teaches, not a teacher that performs. That's a big difference. So when my opportunities arise as a performer, that's my career. That's where I go, you know. But for my students, I remember when I got the job, we were having a staff meeting and everyone was introducing themselves, and we had other artists, and they were like, my name is such and such, and I've worked with this person, I've done this, I've done that, I've done all these great things. And when they got to me, well aware of who I am, I just simply said, my name is Mavis Poole. I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to learn from each of you. And that was my introduction. So the staff had no idea, but the students, I eventually showed them things because I needed them to know why they should listen to me, why you're in the hands of a capable person that's not just going to uh, teach you about music theory, but not show you how to make a living in it when you leave the walls of the school, you know? So I had a student once to ask, like, why is it that a lot of teachers end up or students end up going to school for music and working at McDonald's or working at somewhere else, that has nothing to do with music? And I'm like, well, a lot of times their teacher is a teacher and they have a degree, but they don't have real life experience in the field of being an artist or what to do after that, how to make a living outside of being a teacher. So, and that's what they're taught. You get an education degree, you're being taught to teach. So that's your gig. So I show them who I am, and I talk to them constantly about taking advantage of the time that I'm there, because I never know how long I'm in a space. And that's just the reality of it. I received a message from the school I used to work at. Shout out to Mount Carmel Holy Rosary in New York, on the east side. I worked there one day out of a week for 7 years. And I received a message from the principal, through a parent, that uh, I was the best teacher she had ever had. And, all of these beautiful things. And it meant the world to me, because I'm like, okay, I was teaching one day out of a week. For me to have that impact, in New York at that school, it just meant everything to me. So basically, I let them know so they don't miss the time with me. Not because I need to puff my chest out, because I need to let them know, like, listen, you're getting this for free. If you come to me the day you graduate or the day after I leave, it's going to cost you. I need you to know that. I'm not just giving out hours of my time after school. So get it now while I'm here, because when I'm not here, I'm not here. I check out, I go do what I'm doing, and I'm present wherever I am. So, so they
Yeah.
are aware, because I make sure that they're aware.
I don't want to make this about me, but I'm from New York also, and I taught at universities. I was a university professor for a good part of my life, and there's nothing better than 20 years later, a student calls you and tells you what a great impact you had on their life. And that they and you didn't know it. You don't know who you influence sometimes, and who benefits. That's the joy of being a teacher. Seeing the
Absolutely.
lights go on in the students' eyes. They light up. They get the joke. They know what you're
Mhm.
talking about. So it's so good to have somebody teaching who's a performer. If you're going to teach music, I mean, there's the extra layer that's so important. And that's another aspect too. So many people in the music industry, and this applies to every industry. They're super talented, but they're clueless about the business of music, or
Mhm.
clueless about the greatest chef in the world. They open a restaurant and it closes within 6 months because they don't make any money. And with the value added you bring to your students because of your performing background, and that's your primary vocation, is priceless. It's worth gold. They have no way of getting this other way, any other way. I work with a number of musicians, and one of them is a good friend of mine, and he's a saxophone player. And he puts up on social media when he does a gig, and sometimes there's 10 people in the audience. And I keep telling him, don't put that up. that's, that's the business of music. You don't want to show 10 people.
Right. Right.
Even if it's a charitable event, you don't want to. It's like there's a whole other aspect besides being a performer, and it's wonderful that you're a teacher. There's so few like you, and it's just so important. So I congratulate you for doing that. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's very well deserved. So okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Okay, let's
Okay.
talk about your hit song, "The Assignment." I have to tell you, since you've been up as a featured artist in the Source Radio Network, you've had 191,000 hits in 1 week, and yeah, you're one of the top. That song is garnering more attention than other songs from other artists that I've had on the featured artist program, and also on this show on the Power Hour. So everyone loves it, and I get comments from people, and some of the comments that I get from them is they listen to it multiple times. They're not just listening to it once; they're listening to it over and over again, and they can sing the lyrics. They know the lyrics, and there's nothing better for a vocalist when people start singing your song and they know the lyrics. So tell us a little bit about the assignment. How did you create the music? The music's excellent. The orchestration is really top shelf, and your voice is superb. And you go so many different places, and the lyrics. So I'm a fan of the song, as you can tell. So
Thank you.
yeah, why don't you tell everybody how it came about?
Well, the music came to me in a dream, guys. I was no, okay. If you believe that, I got to breach this with you. Not true. Okay. The music I had nothing to do with. The music was the genius and the birth, the baby of an amazing and phenomenal producer, Eddie Gypsy Stokes. And he's produced for so many people. Dr. Dre, I think he's worked with India Irie. He has India Irie, Anthony David. Like he is phenomenal, and he's short with words. Like he just hurry. Let's get to the point. Let's get to the point. He's really direct. He's like, I know what people want. I know what you want. And he said that when I first met him. I was like, yeah, I heard that before. But he gets it. He does get it. So he's the first person that understood the assignment before the assignment was even a thing for me. He understood. So he put this amazing music together. And at the time, if I'm totally being honest, and I am, I was in a drought, what we call a drought. I was in a drought. And I was in the act of, oh, child, I was going through it. I was going through it. I was just going through it. I was longing for something. And I was actively manifesting something. And so it was a lot of, now I've had some great moments. So it's not like I don't know about what I'm singing about. I know what I'm singing about. I'm two babies in the game. So know what's going on there. But it was just a moment of, I wish, it was really just a moment of going into a space of remembering what it felt like, and just when somebody really nails it, and just when somebody really gets it, and it's just like, oh my God, like you're thinking about it months later or years later, you might have a flashback and you still get chills. It's those moments. It that really allowed me to successfully write this song, just going into those spaces. And the thing I love about writing is there's no walls, there's no boundaries. Like I can imagine and I can just go. And when I heard the music that he sent, it was just like, oh yes, oh, it just felt like this is what goes there. Like it really, like how sculptors just start sculpting and then it's like, oh, that's what you're supposed to be. Okay, now I see it. That's how it felt. I listened to the song and then I put the pen to the paper and I just kind of went into my head and connected to what it felt like. And that's what came out. It was like, yes, that's what this is. Like, this is this space. So it was really just a magical experience created with, another magical person that understood the assignment. That's what it was. So
It's interesting you say that because Michelangelo, the great sculptor and artist, he was once asked when he's standing in front of a big piece of stone, he was asked, how do you begin to sculpt? And Michelangelo said, the sculpture is already finished. I just have to move away the rock that doesn't belong there. And that's what you're
mhm,
talking about. If you need
mhm,
a song, you had to move away, take away all the other parts that don't fit, and
absolutely.
here it is, and there it is. And
I love
that's yeah, that's a great way to think about art. If the art is already there, you have to move away the extraneous pieces that don't fit.
it.
So
Absolutely. I love that.
yeah, so yeah, that's terrific. So okay, so that explains the music, explains the lyrics. How when you go into the studio, now you have this song, and this is your moment of truth. You're in the studio and you're going to record that song. What goes through your mind when you step up to the mic? What are you thinking about?
Well, it all depends. Now, in this particular case, it was still, we were working on this still in the era of when COVID was a little more, rampant. And so he sent the music to me. And here I am in my studio where I am right now. This is where the magic happened for me. So I recorded the vocals in my studio. And then I sent them to him in his studio. And he just, we were working that way. But nothing. I learned a long time ago. That's true. I learned I learned a long time ago not to think, just go. And that's the importance of, and I tell my students this too, that's the importance of having a vocabulary, like a bag of tricks that you can pull out, just things that you can go through. Like, because what I remember being in church one time and having this song that had a high note. And I was so scared of this high note. And I practiced it, practiced it, practiced it. And I remember when it was time to sing it, I was standing there and I was thinking, okay, here it comes, here it comes. And I messed up the part right before it. And then I also messed up the high note because I was thinking. So the whole thing was screwed up. And then it was like, I was relieved after I missed them both. It was just kind of like, well, missed that. Okay, here we are. Keep going now. And I remember in that moment promising myself I would never think again when I was singing. Like, that won't happen again. I'll have it to where I'm able to pull out from what's naturally in me and I can make it work without trying to think it through because that didn't work well for me. So when I'm in the studio, same rules apply. It's like, okay, get in front of the mic, open your mouth, see what comes out because your voice is different every day. My voice is different
That's right.
every day
That's
and
right.
even every part
That's
of
right.
the day. My voice now does not sound the way it did this morning. So it's really, I've learned to kind of accept my voice where it is and just like start and just genuinely sing from that space. Like I no longer try to sound like something or try to do this or try to do that. It's like, okay, what are we feeling today? Where are we? Let's do our warm-ups and then let's just go for it and see what comes out. And that's literally how I approach my projects.
Yeah, that's great. You can do chromatic scales all day long, but when you step in front of the mic, that's not what comes out. And every day, like
Exactly.
you said, it's going to be different. So and that's what makes an artist. And that's why people want to listen to some artists because they really don't know what's going to come out. They don't want it to be formulaic. They don't want to hear the same notes and the same keys and the same tempos and that's what makes someone really successful. They have variety in their style, their voice, and that's what you're talking about. Like, it's that's the way I thought you'd be approaching it when you step in front of the mic. Just let it go,
Let it
let
go.
it go. Yeah, yeah. Okay, tell me a little bit more about now you're in the music industry for some years, and so many things have changed in the music industry, separate from the technology and distribution. Record labels are kind of a thing of the past in a lot of ways. A&R isn't being done. You have to market yourself and develop your own brand. It's just a different world. But separate from the marketing and technology aspects, tell me a little bit about your thoughts about music. in my mind, R&B, kind of morphed into soul, and soul kind of morphed into neo soul, and you had rap, and then spun off hip hop, and you know, you know, and then there's all the crossovers. Lil Nas, doing the country and hip hop crossover. So the music scene is so eclectic today. It's so much broader than it used to be. What do you think about all that? Do you think it's a good thing? Where do you see it going? And how do you fit yourself in as one, an artist, but two, a person who wants to have a career and be successful? And those two things may not be the same all the time. So how do you think about this, in this changing music environment?
Well, when I was in college, my professor was definitely a purist. So I know that one of the things he was big on, like, when you talk about jazz, I'm expecting to hear Coltrane or Oscar Peterson or Ahmad Jamal. Like, I'm expecting to hear the real cats,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and that's jazz. So it wasn't. There was always a lot of students that were interested in infusing it with something else, like adding in a little. Can we put a pocket on this? Can we? And he was not having it. Like, no. And it's not that he didn't do it outside of school, but I think it was just the importance of learning the rules before you break them,
Yes,
and
yes. Well put.
so I feel like what's happening now is things are well, I don't know now that it's intentional or whether it's I don't know that people even know that they're doing it. Like I said, when I remember I was talking to Bean one time, and I was saying it was, I was doing Straight Ahead at the time, and I was like, they wanted us to do some jazz festival, and I'm like, we can't do that, because we can't do these songs. We were doing soul at the time, soul song. We can't do these at a jazz festival. Like, no, like, it's not gonna work. And he was like, Mavis, he said, Erica Badu headlined this jazz festival. I was like, oh, okay. Like, okay, and he just cleared a lot of stuff up for me. It just took away, and it really just showed that things really are just, it's a big gumbo now,
Yes.
and I think what's happening is fine. I don't think that things have to, because people now say jazz is dead and whatever else, and I think a lot of it has changed because things came from a different place then. So when I think of jazz, just like I think of old gospel, when things morph into something else, honestly, sometimes I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the fusion because I like what it was. It's just my particular, taste. I want to hear what it was, but I want to hear what it was from the real people whose era it was. So now what's happening is I feel like a lot of people are copying and imitating and trying to sound like things that used to be, but it's not really their story. It's not really their experience. So they might have the you know they might have one level of it, but I had my students listening to Strange Fruit, and we talked about what it was. That's not something that we see. We deal with things in a different way, but that's not something that we see when we're going to work or when we're going to do things. We don't see black bodies hanging from a tree anymore. That's not something that we see, and it's common, but that was a thing that they dealt with in their time. So the music that was birthed out of the heartbreak and the struggle, that was there, like the slaves field hollers and the this and that. That's what that was for them. People now, I think, they don't have the depth to accompany these styles. Everybody understands heartbreak. Everybody understands misfortune and sad times and this and that. But at the level that it was experienced, we're becoming more and more disconnected from that. So I think now I would much rather people do and hear music the way they feel it genuinely than for them to try to hold on to something that is just changing. Like those people, a lot of the story is changing. A lot of the lifestyles are changing. You have a Gucci bag and this and that and whatever else, and you're singing about, if I come in, I'm singing Strange Fruit with my cranberry juice and whatever else, and it's just not, it's not going to have the same effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't mind that people change and that music changes as long as it's genuine. I think as long as it's the way you really feel it and not just something that like I'm sitting here trying to create another version of Sarah Vaughan just because I really liked her sound or her style, you know, or another version of Billie Holiday or this person or that person. If it's not really genuine to me, because again, who's doing your work? If you're doing that work has already been done and done well, you know. But what does this sound like in this generation now to you? Or, you know, what does music sound like to you right now? So I'm not a purist per se, but I do like elements of it. I do like and respect elements of things being what they are, but I'm also open to authentic uh
Yeah,
metamorphosis and change. You know, I'm open to authentic and genuine transition and melding and whatever else, you know.
you know, you're raising some interesting points here. You know, there's it's not just copying. Now they call it sampling,
Mhm.
which is and you know some people do it so well. You know again I'll tell you some of my own likes. You know I think Bruno Mars did a wonderful job. You know sampling some of the old school rhythms. You know when he did Uptown Funk,
Mhm.
24 Karat, and I think John Batiste is remarkable because he's a very skilled musician. He's
Oh, yeah.
classically trained. You know, and but he has this uncanny ability to be able to sample and yet make it totally his and totally modern and fitting in with that what you're talking about. He's not trying to make it sound like like you know the old R&B. He's trying to say, hey, there's some value here, you know, and that we can learn from and make our own and have our own version. And
Right.
some of the people that do that, like again Bruno Mars and John Batiste, you know, I think they're highly contemporary, but they're not losing sight of the history of what came
Right.
before them.
Right.
It still burns in their soul, and
Mhm.
you know it's rare. It's rare, and it's you know I find it incredible to be able to do that. You know, to be
Absolutely.
that kind of creative. Yeah, so you
Absolutely.
agree?
I totally
Yeah,
agree. I
yeah,
totally agree. And you're adding the words you're using. It's like they're honoring the past, but they're also adding that modern thing into it. But it's all very genuine. It's all very authentic sounding. So I totally
yes.
agree.
Yeah, and they know where they came from. You know, they're not forgetting, and I think that's the important part of making music living, a living testimony to you
Yes,
know to the culture it comes from, and not forgetting about it and going off in a whole different direction. So you know,
absolutely.
yeah, I'm a big fan of that. So good. I'm glad we agree. Okay, tell me about you now a little bit more. Now we're talking about the music scene. You know, where do you see yourself going? You know, because of all this change and things are evolving, and there's so many subgenres. You know, we call this show actually the Jazz Confusion Power Hour, not Jazz Fusion. It's confusion because, like like you pointed out, you know, it's such an amalgam. You know, now you have Korean pop. You know, I mean, there's so many, you know, subgenres of music. So how does that impact you as you move through the musical scene? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I see myself doing what I love to do in the way that I love to do it. And hopefully there's always a space for it. But if it's not, then I'll be singing in my bathroom for my babies or wherever I am. Whatever I'm doing, I think it's so important for me to just enjoy music. Music is not just a hobby or a career, it's my sanity. It's absolutely my
Yeah,
sanity. So if I'm not doing something that is authentic, then I can't do it. If it's not real to me, then I can't do it. So I'm just hoping that there's a genre that my stuff fits in perfectly at some point, or that we create a genre in 5 years if need be. But you know, whatever I'm doing, it'll definitely be something that I can relate to and that feeds my soul, because that's what gives me purpose and reason to be on this side of the earth. So, you know,
yeah, but I think maybe I'm asking you the question a little bit differently. You know, just like John Batiste and Bruno Mars sample, is there anything that you're picking up that's current that wasn't part of your classical training that influences the way in which you present a song? Is there anything out there that's new that you kind of love to listen to that does impact you, or are you just you know locked into performing like you said in the niche you've already created?
Well, I think the thing is, I don't really know sometimes I'm being influenced. I don't really
Okay.
know that things come out until they come out, and I'm like, oh, that was different, you know? Or so I think that as a creative person, I always just try to remain open. And I get these influences from everywhere. It's whatever I'm listening to. Like right now, I've been listening to a lot of reggae, chronics,
I'm
coffee,
sorry, what was that?
a lot of
Oh,
reggae.
got it, yeah,
And there's two
yeah.
artists in particular, Chronics and Coffee. I just think, like in the gospel world, Mary Mary, there's certain people that get it right every time. They don't miss. They put out, it's a hit, it's a banger every time. That's how I feel about Chronics and Coffee in the reggae world. So who knows? I might come out singing, uh, something that has been influenced from them. Like I'm just always open. So sometimes I'm not even realizing that I'm being influenced. Um, it's just
Mhm.
I'm just singing what I like. I'm listening to what I like, and then I hear something differently than I may have ever heard it. So um, I'm just open. I don't really. I'm open to whatever happens on this journey. I'm open to be inspired. I'm open to um, doing what comes naturally. I hope I'm answering this question. I think I'm in the family. I hope I'm in the vein of it. I hope I'm answering the question. But I think um I'm just open to whatever organically happens to me and to my ear and performance, in music. So wherever that leads me is I guess where I'm going. Whatever happens is
Gotcha.
we'll find out. We'll all find out together. There
It's to be announced, right?
you go.
Yeah,
TBD. There you go.
you are. Okay. Okay. Why don't you tell us about you have music coming out in February. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what your fans can expect to hear?
Okay, so this single is a prelude to an EP that's coming out. There's one more single that is coming out, and that uh, it's just going to be amazing. I think the single that's coming out is just one of my favorite songs ever in the universe. So that's also going to be amazing. But it's all a part of an EP called Adult Time, and it's Volume 1. And actually King Myron was the one that mentioned that name. I was like, Adult Time. I don't know if I like that too much. But then I'm a mom of a 6 and 8 year old, and he constantly hears me talking to my kids as well, or just doing different things. And as we started discussing it, it was more so like he started showing me why adult time was very appropriate. Because I'm like, okay, this is not for kids. This is that. He was like, exactly, adult time. So the project itself is entitled Adult Time Volume 1, and it's just some amazing tracks on there, and there's no filling track. There's no fillers. There's nothing like just to take up space. So I have tracks like they're each. If I could release all 5 of singles, I would, because they all deserve attention. I love them all. So the project coming out, the full EP is entitled Adult Time Volume 1. So that's what you can expect, and that will be out soon.
Terrific. Where are you going to be performing in the next few months? Do you have any special places you want to tell people about?
Well, I'm not, okay. So my main gig is teaching. I'm going to be doing that, and I may have 1 or 2 things that I'm keeping a little quiet.
Okay.
And I have something coming up at the end of the year, and it's already been we got a yes that it's a go, but I wait until there's like a contract or something else.
Gotcha.
So I don't count my chickens before they hatch, but this should be pretty big, and trust me, I'll be yelling it from the mountaintops when things happen, so everyone will know about it. But for now, I just got to keep it a little, keep it a little quiet. But there will be, definitely dates that I'll put out. But for now, I'm just kind of using wisdom.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna throw a couple of things. Throw a couple of things at you. Just tell me what comes into your mind. Okay.
Okay.
Favorite song of all time.
Maybe, maybe Teach Me Tonight. That's what came in my head. I love that
By
song.
whom? By whom?
Yeah.
By which artist?
This is actually a jazz standard, and it's called Teach Me Tonight. So it's by
Oh,
plenty artists. I
okay.
don't know who originally wrote it, but it's
Gotcha.
yeah, that's
Gotcha.
what popped in my head.
What's your favorite instrument?
Ooh, it's gonna hurt. I think well, I love voice, but I think trumpet. I love a trumpet. I think
Trumpet.
trumpet.
Cool.
I think
Cool.
so.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for someone to say trombone.
I love trombone too. But
There you
trumpet
go.
today.
There you go. Where's the favorite place that you like to sing? Where is it? What's the location?
My shower.
Doesn't have to be a venue. Your
My
shower.
shower.
Okay. Who's your biggest fan?
My biggest fan. Ooh, maybe my daughter, but I'm also her biggest fan. She's 6. So maybe her. I
Okay.
think maybe my daughter.
Terrific. Okay. I won't stress you out anymore. I just wanted to get a few reactions from you. So look, it's been wonderful having you on. You're delightful. You're talented. People are just loving your music, and we're so pleased to have you on our show. So I want to thank you. And before we go, you want to tell everybody where they can reach you? How do they get a hold of you? How do they hear your music? What's your website?
Okay, everything is Mavis, Mavis, Swan, Swan, Poole, Poole. All things Mavis Swan Poole. Go to Instagram. I got to get my followers up on Instagram. I'm so used to Facebook, and now that's a thing of the past. Everybody's like, follow me on IG. And so that's new. Me, I'm late to the game, late to the party. So Instagram, Mavis Swan Poole. Okay. And then the website is mavisswanpoole.com. And you can Google Mavis Swan Poole, but follow me on Instagram. Let's get these numbers up together, team. Let's do it.
Gotcha. Great. Okay. Well, Mavis, thanks once again, and good luck with your wonderful career and your teaching and your family. And again, it's been a real pleasure. I want to thank you very much.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, King. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. Well, I hope we can get you back on sometime in the future. Bring you back again.
Absolutely.
Thank you, like terrific. Okay. Well, look, you take care of yourself again. Okay. Bye.
Okay.